Hello everyone. This coming Thursday is Ascension Day. It begins a 10-day period leading up to Pentecost, when we remember that Jesus poured out upon the church, upon his disciples first, the gift that he'd promised, his life, his spirit living in each one who believed in him and followed him. And it must have been an awesome time for the disciples just to be told to wait. The most difficult instruction they'd received, I think. I'm going to send you what my Father has promised, said Jesus, but stay in the city until you've been clothed with power from on high. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm not very good at waiting. I want to get on with things. And I expect disciples like Peter did too. We know that Peter was impetuous. He jumped out of the boat to go and see Jesus. He said, I will never deny you. And yet he did. And when we're not sure what's happening, isn't it much easier to get busy, to feel that we're contributing and that we're doing something? I retired from being vicar of Bursleden for 25 years, but when I finished my curacy, I didn't know where I was going. The diocese put us into temporary housing, and it now turns out they knew exactly where they wanted us to be going, but they weren't able to say at the time. For us, it was simply an uncomfortable time of waiting, not knowing what the future held. The lesson is, God had it in hand all the time. And there's a great verse in Isaiah that said, those who wait on the Lord will renew their strength. They shall rise up on wings like eagles. That's in Isaiah chapter 40, towards the end. Now, I don't know if you've ever seen an eagle soar, but they ride the updrafts. They look for the thermals, the warm rising air. They're not flapping their wings like crazy to stay up there. They glide and turn with grace. It offers its wings to the wind and is carried. The contrast is to see a canary loose in the room if it gets out of the cage. They flap about 19 to the dozen, and there doesn't appear to be much grace. Now, there have undoubtedly been times in my ministry when there's been more canary than eagle, been flapping around on the treadmill, struggling to keep up, juggling any number of balls at once. It doesn't look graceful. It's not peaceful. And I don't actually believe it's the way ministry is supposed to be. Waiting isn't passive. What does an eagle do? His eyes are watching the whole time. His body's feeling for the wind, knowing that until there are updrafts, it's not worth going. In the spirit, this is huge. It's our prayer turned into active waiting, attuned to what God is saying, where he is moving. And that's a great challenge between now and Pentecost, actively to wait before God. We remember at Pentecost God's outpouring of himself, his life, his spirit upon the church. The disciples were, through that, empowered to preach in such a way that thousands of hearts were turned to Jesus. The sick were healed. A new community was born. But right now we have to remember that such a time was born out of waiting. And I'd just like to encourage us all to be seeking God and asking what he has for us as individuals and for us as a church. Much will have changed during this lockdown. Much will change as we come out of lockdown. And in waiting, we need the kind of prayer which doesn't tell God what we think our agenda is, but which waits and says, Lord, what is your agenda for me? What's your agenda for our church and our community? It's seeking God's heart. Where are you working, Lord? The eagle offers its wings and is carried. And I wonder whether in this time between now and Pentecost, we can spread our wings and offer ourselves. Dare we ask to be sensitive to the wind of the Spirit, to sense what God is doing, Because the same gift, the gift of that Holy Spirit which transformed the disciples and gave birth to the church, exactly the same gift is available to each one of us. Isn't it so tempting to think it applies to the person next to us when we were able to sit in church, or people who we think are slightly holier than we are, someone who's gifted, someone who's more in touch with God? But that's simply not true. God pours out his Spirit on all people without let or hindrance. All we have to do is offer our wings and say, "Here I am, Lord." And I wonder whether we've got the hearts and the courage to do that. Those who wait on the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint. Let's have courage and faith as we wait together for all that God longs to do amongst us. Thank you.